Hip hop is a competitive sport. This is a sentiment that's been echoed throughout rap these past few years. Just like any music genre, there's some form of competition. Just like how marching bands have battles and rock and pop stars compete to have the best shows, in hip hop, competition is a little more intense. Rap artists have been competing since the beginning of the genre, whether it's been breakdancing or lyrical battles over wax. But over the past decade, two of the biggest rap artists have been subliminally competing with each other until recently, where the subliminal disses have now turned into a full-blown battle. But where did this all start? What's up, everybody? Welcome to HipHop Biographics. And on this channel, we cover hip-hop legends, figures, and forgotten moments in hip-hop. And today, we're going to be discussing what's the history behind the feud between Kendrick and Drake. First, let's rewind to the early 2010s when Drake released his sophomore album, Take Care. On Take Care, Drake had a song on the album called Buried Alive Interlude that Kendrick was featured on. Kendrick would land on Drake's album after he released his debut album, Section 80. Him and Drake were close during this time. Kendrick played Drake his first album before he played it for anybody else outside of his camp. Drake was also really impressed with this album and wanted him and The Weeknd to do a song together, but that never ended up happening. But Drake would send Kendrick a beat and tell him to do whatever he wanted to do with it, in which Kendrick would talk about entering into the new world of stardom and how he would protect his values when entering into this industry, but also knowing there will be temptation. Kendrick would reflect on how, when he first got into the industry, he was greeted by an alien. We can speculate that this alien is either fame or fortune or some other entity that doesn't hold Kendrick's true value, but instead his desires. This evidence I'm going to go with it because if we look back at Kendrick's mixtape, Overly Dedicated, he has a song on it called Alien Girl. And on this song, it first comes off as a love song, but if we look at she as the industry or fame, the song becomes a double entendre, which isn't a stretch for Kendrick. Also, on his album, To Pimp a Butterfly, the song Wesley's Theory follows the same format in which Kendrick isn't randomly rapping about his first girlfriend in the song about how America treats young black entertainers. He is instead talking about the industry. But this alien Kendrick is talking about tells him that she slept with a Canadian, and now he's obsessed with a lifestyle of luxury that he won't come back from. Kendrick will finish his song with a conversation between him and Drake. Kendrick would confess to being envious and insecure during this conversation because Drake would mention that they are the same age, which would light a fire under Kendrick, knowing that they are the same age and that Drake was much more established at the time. This wouldn't be the first time Kendrick rapped about Drake getting under his skin. A bonus track off of Kendrick Lamar's EP called Determined, Kendrick would rap about how him and his girl were splitting a bucket of KFC and she was listening to Drake. This would cause Kendrick to feel like these other artists are better than him since she was listening to his music instead of Kendrick's. And Kendrick told his girl that they cannot be together because she's messing with his self-esteem, in which she would reply that he is one of the best and he shouldn't be just like any typical rapper. He should be more like Jay-Z. Now, was that a shot at Drake? I'll let you all decide that. Drake will also give Kendrick some game during this conversation and tell Kendrick that he has to accept things that come with the industry. And Kendrick will blame Mr. OVO XO, which is Drake and The Weeknd, and that they're the reason he's breathing this vanity now. And after being told all of this, Kendrick will bury himself inside of a grave of money, power, and pussy, and then Kendrick would die at the end of the song, leaving listeners to ponder and see if Kendrick would give in to the industry and stay buried becoming just another mainstream artist, or will he surely break the box, like he said in the beginning of the song. In February of 2012, Drake would invite Kendrick Lamar and A$AP Rocky to open for him on his Club Paradise tour. Drake would rap about this on his 4 p.m. to Calabasas song. Drake would rap about how they wanted him to take an R&B singer on the road, in which he told them no. He opted for Kendrick and A$AP instead. Kendrick would speak on this tour in an interview right before he released his song, Cartoons and Cereal. Kendrick would speak on how he is used to being in front of 2,000 people, and he has to get used to performing in front of 10,000 plus people. But he was grateful for the experience. The pair would collaborate again on Kendrick Lamar's album, Good Kid, Mad City, on the song Poetic Justice. This wouldn't be the only time that OVO would be featured on this album. On Kendrick Lamar's hit song, Swimming Pools, T- produced the song, who's an in-house producer for OVO. The pair will also collaborate again on A$AP Rocky's Fucking Problem song, along with a list of other names. And that's when we stopped seeing the pair collaborate as much. Since the following year after Good Kid, Mad City, Lamar would respectfully collaborate with Big Sean on his Control song. And he would call out the entire industry, including Drake, in August of 2013 on this song. Drake would go on an interview after releasing his album, Nothing Was the Same, and would praise Kendrick Lamar for his album's success from Good Kid, Mad City, but then he would speak about the Control verse. Drake would call it cool, but then he would ask the interviewer, do you remember how the verse started? Drake would also say he's not bothered by the verse, but he did see Kendrick 5 days after the verse was released, and it was all love. That made Drake lose respect for the verse because he believes if Kendrick is saying fuck everybody, then he should feel that way on and off of the track. In September of the same year, Drake will release his album Nothing Was the Same on the 24th. And on the album, the track called The Language, Drake would start his track off saying, I don't know why they are lying, but your shit is not that inspiring. Later in that verse, Drake would seemingly throw shots at Kendrick, and Drake raps about going platinum, and he looked at his wrist, and it's already platinum. Drake would say that this line was actually about a platinum watch, but right after Big Sean released his Control verse and Kendrick shook up the industry, Kendrick Lamar's album, Good Kid, Mad City, that was released 10 months ago, would go platinum that same month, with the release of the verse pushing 10,000 extra copies that week. Also within that verse, he talks about rappers thinking that they're their best. Drake would also respond in a Billboard article telling the interviewer that it sounded ambitious to him, but he knows Kendrick isn't murdering him in any way. But that same year in September, Kendrick will compete in a cypher in the BET Awards, and he will rap that nothing been the same since when he dropped the Control verse and tucked the sensitive rapper back into his pajamas. Obviously, a play on Nothing Was the Same album that just came out that same year. Also, Drake was known during this time to be much more sensitive in his feelings type of rapper / singer, especially since his album before Nothing Was the Same was Take Care. Drake will allegedly respond to Kendrick on Future's song Shit, the remix, and basically the entire verse seems to be a diss towards Kendrick. At the beginning of this track, Drake raps, he took niggas out the hood, so it's all good when he comes there, and someone, allegedly Kendrick, he hears talking like he runs the city, but he brought his tour to his city, and now he's his son there. In 2013, Drake had a tour for his album Nothing Was the Same called Would You Like a Tour? On 11/25/2013, Drake will have a show in Los Angeles where he will perform with Snoop Dogg, and they will perform some of his most classic songs such as Drop It Like It's Hot, Nothing But a G Thing, and The Next Episode. Nicki will also come out at that show and perform with Drake on their song Make Me Proud, and Birdman will also stop by and perform with Drake his hit single, one of my favorite Birdman songs, Still Fly. Also on this track, Drake will also rap, it's funny how they are dangling the bait, but I'm killing them on the hooks though. Drake acknowledges that Kendrick is playing a cat and mouse game with him, but he's not falling for it. Drake will rap at the end of this that fuck niggas gonna be fuck niggas, and that's why we never gave a fuck when a fuck nigga switch. We can seemingly apply that this is to Kendrick if we take a look at why Drake may feel away. Drake gave Kendrick a single on one of his most successful albums. Drake also took Kendrick on his first tour. And then he hooked him up with one of his producers for one of his biggest singles at the time. So after Kendrick called Drake name out on Control and dissed him in the BET cypher, Drake feels like Kendrick switched up on him. Drake will also do an interview with the Vibe magazine, and he will speak on Kendrick. He will say he never looked at Kendrick as the bad guy, or he doesn't like him. He thinks of him as a genius, but he will stand his ground when Kendrick takes shots at him, and he realizes that Kendrick is baiting him. Kendrick will also hold his silence on responding to Drake during this time, but in October of next year, in 2014, Kendrick will respond on J-Rock's song, Pay For It. Kendrick will rap that he is dissecting Drake's motor mouth, responding back to Drake on his song The Language, where he will say he is the kid with the motor mouth. Kendrick will also go on to rap that this isn't a warning shot, that he is coming straight for the kill, and he has ended their friendship, and he would rather die alone. Kendrick will go on the verse to mockingly call Drake the boy since earlier that year in April of 2014, Drake released his track, Days in the East, and on that track, Drake begins to call himself the boy. Kendrick will also rap about Matthew and Jesus, This could be because Drake is Jewish, and Matthew is the first book in the New Testament, and the Jewish religion follows the Old Testament. And Jesus also isn't in the Old Testament, but that could be a reach. Drake will also hit back at Kendrick on his 2015 album, If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. And he will say on the track featuring Lil Wayne, Used To, that they're going to say your name on the airwaves, and then they're going to hit you up just like it's only rap. Since like earlier, when we spoke on Drake seeing Kendrick at the VMAs, and Kendrick being friendly during that time. Also, this entire chorus of this song could be taken as a shot, but Drake was beefing with a few people at this time, such as Chris Brown, Joe Budden, Diddy, and Tyga. On 6 p.m. in New York, from the same album, Drake will go at a few people in the industry. He will also attack Tyga viciously on this track, but he didn't just have words for Tyga. Drake will also rap, I got a backyard where money seems to come from trees, and I'm never scared to get some blood on my leaves. This could be a double shot at Kendrick and Kanye, since Kendrick had a song called Money Trees, and Kanye also had a song called Blood on the Leaves. But also, this could be a reach, since Drake and Kanye wouldn't start having issues until years later. But fast forward to March of 2015, Kendrick released his 11th-time Grammy-nominated album, To Pimp a Butterfly. And on this album, he had a song called King Kunta. And Kendrick will rap, I can dig rapping, but a rapper with a ghostwriter? What the fuck happened? He will also go on to talk about how he swore he wouldn't reveal their secret, but they're sharing bars like they got the bottom bunk in a two-man cell. The world wouldn't know who Kendrick was referring to at this time, but a few months later, Meek Mill will reveal that Drake had a ghostwriter named Quentin Miller that he used on some of his tracks from his album, If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, such as Rico and 10 Bands. Drake would collab with The Game, who is also a West Coast artist, who is also from Compton, California. Drake would rap on the song 100, I would have all your fans if I didn't go pop, and if I stayed on some conscious shit. He would later rap that whenever he's in the club, he hears the opposition song being played, and he sees a response from the crowd whenever their music comes on, if it ever gets played in the club. Not only was Drake dissing Kendrick with another Compton artist, Drake would also film a music video in Compton, but Kendrick would fire back on Dr. Dre's The Compton album on the song Dark Side/Gone. Kendrick would flip Drake's hook from his song The Energy, and he would say, but still, I got a lot of enemies giving me this energy. When Kendrick dissed Drake on Dr. Dre's Compton album, that was August 11th, 2015. Kendrick would also go back on the same album with another track called Deep Water, and Kendrick would rap that they are liable to bury him, that they nominated Six to carry him. Since during this time, Drake started referring to Toronto as the Six. In 2016, Drake and Kendrick tension would grow even more when the President of the United States at the time would open up about his thoughts of Kendrick and Drake and if they were beefing at the time, and who would win. And Obama would go with Kendrick, and he would base this off of Kendrick's outstanding rap lyrics. Obama also named To Pimp a Butterfly, the album of 2015. He would also go on to say that Kendrick Lamar, How Much a Dollar Costs, was his favorite song of 2015. And Drake wouldn't take too kindly to this, but he wouldn't go at the President of the United States. Instead, he would rap on his Summer 16 song to tell Obama that his verses are like the whips he's riding in, bulletproof. In 2016, Kendrick released a mixtape with untitled tracks for his fans. On one particular track on this album that was called Untitled 7, this song will be a two-part song. And on the second part of this song, in Kendrick's first verse, he will say the few lines that seem to be aimed at Drake or some other rapper Kendrick will be beefing with during this time. It's suspected that he was talking about Jay Electronica, since Jay dissed Kendrick on live by saying his Cartoons and Cereal song was good, but that's it. But that would be quickly debunked by Kendrick's friend, Terrence Martin. He would say that this track was made a few years ago, before Jay Electronica dissed Kendrick. The co-president of Kendrick's label, Top Dawg, will release a picture on Twitter that this song was actually called A Final Warning. But to who? But that wouldn't be the only thing in 2016. Marcellus Wiley, a former NFL star, would say he witnessed an interview between either Drake or Kendrick Lamar, and they were taking major shots at each other during the interview. The interview got so bad that the manager or whatever artist that was doing the interview had to step in and end the interview early. The interview never aired, and Marcellus never said who it was. But he would say that this would ignite a beef that would rival Ja Rule and 50 Cent or NWA and Ice Cube. Drake would go on to release an album in 2017 called More Life. And on one of the songs, Galchester, He would rap that he knows that he said that he is top 5, but he really is top 2, and he is not 2. And whoever thought they were number 1 aren't what they think they are. Kendrick will allegedly respond to this just a few days after Drake will release More Life with the track called The Heart Part 4. The Heart series are songs that Kendrick releases before he releases an album. The Heart Part 4 came right before Damn. But on this track, Kendrick would start off by saying, "Don't tell a lie on me, and I won't tell the truth about you." Kendrick would start this song off by talking about his accomplishments and his legendary status in the rap game and his future in the rap game. But after the chorus, Kendrick's tone would change. Kendrick would start the second verse off by saying, "My fans can't wait till I son your punk ass." This could either be Drake or Big Sean, since Drake had just released the album. But the next line would call someone a little bitch, which is one of Big Sean's most iconic ad-libs. But Kendrick also go on to speak on how this one particular rapper is tiptoeing around his name. And he would tell this rapper, or rappers, that they don't want to clash with him and not to end up like the next guy, which could be Jay Electronica. But Kendrick would never openly diss him. Only Ab Soul would diss him on Kendrick's behalf, which is Kendrick's label mate. And he would have a few words for Jay on his track called Raw, Backwards. But the biggest line that makes it seem like this was directed at Drake was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm the greatest rapper alive. This was Kendrick making the statement that he is the greatest rapper after Drake just claimed to be number 1. After the release of The Heart Part 4 on March 23rd, Kendrick Lamar released his album Down on the 14th of April. Drake would congratulate Kendrick around this time on an Instagram post about him outselling him. And he would also write, "It's amazing to see how both of their music is moving." He would also like a comment by a fan that suggested the pair should collaborate, but it's allegedly that Kendrick responded to Drake on All of the Stars song from the Black Panther album. This entire verse is allegedly about Drake. Kendrick would rap that in this verse, he doesn't care about this person's expectations, he doesn't want their congratulations, and he recognizes that they aren't confident in themselves, as they may think. Kendrick also talk about how he hates people who feel entitled, and how he doesn't even like this person at all. Kendrick also in this verse was saying he wants his credit whether he's losing or if he's winning, insinuating Drake saying congratulations about outselling him. He wants his credit whether he outsold him or not. Down will end up being loved by fans, but it wouldn't be filled with subliminal disses. But there is one song that Kendrick seems to address his fellow rap peers on, in this element. Kendrick would start this off by saying, "I don't give a fuck," which sounds eerily like Big Sean hit song, "I Don't Fuck With You." But the lyrics that may have been directed at Drake would be on the third verse, when Kendrick would say, "Niggas wanna flex on me and be in LA for free. Next time they hit the 10-way, we need that receipt." But this could be a rebuttal from Drake's and DJ Khaled's song, For Free, where Drake would say, like your boy from Compton said, "You know this dick ain't free." Drake shot a music video on Compton. That's why Kendrick may feel like Drake was trying to flex on him. There wouldn't be too many openly disses from the pair during this time period. Kendrick would go on to win a Pulitzer Prize, but would remain quiet for the next few years. Drake would continue to dominate the charts, and the beef seemed to not have went further than a few subliminal disses from the pair. So we would surely think that they both would have grown past the beef by now, right? But that wouldn't be until July 6, 2023. On the very first stop on Drake's It Was All a Blur tour, Drake would take jabs at an artist that has taken 3, 4, 5 years off and want to chill. But who would that be? But that could have been Jay-Z, J.cole, Nicki Minaj, Frank Ocean, Rihanna, or Kendrick Lamar. But before this, Drake will release an album called For All the Dawgs. And on this album, there will be a song called First Person Shooter that featured J.cole. And it's also rumored that Kendrick Lamar was also supposed to be on this track, but he politely declined. It'd be alleged that Drake will reach out to Kendrick Lamar to have the big three all on the song together, which probably would have been one of the biggest songs of 2023, since we have never seen J.cole, Kendrick Lamar, and Drake on a song together. But on this track, J.cole will rap, "When they argue who's the best MC, is it K-Dot or is it Aubrey or is it me? We the big three like we started a league, but I'm feeling like Muhammad Ali." This seems to be the Cassius Belly of the entire beef. On March 22nd, the industry will be shaken up, just like how it was shaken up back in 2013 when Control dropped, after Future and Metro would drop a song on their collaboration album that was called Like That. On this track, Future will show, even though he's 20 years into the industry, he is still on top of his game, and he hasn't slowed down since breaking into mainstream fame. Metro Boomin would deliver a hard-hitting beat that almost felt like he had his own verse on it. That featured an Eazy-E sample that came from a song called The Everlasting Bass. But the controversy surrounding the song wasn't Metro Drums of future boastful lyrics. It would be the verse from Kendrick Lamar that would garner a lot of attention towards the track. Kendrick would start this track off by saying that niggas talking outside their necks, referring to Drake and Cole on their song, First Person Shooter. I won't break down every bar in these next diss songs, just to keep the video from being 3 hours long, but Kendrick will go on to make it very clear that he isn't a part of the big three, that he is choosing violence. This entire verse now looking back seems to be more of a light jab to let everyone know that he is not being friendly and that he is tired of the sneak dissing. This verse will also go on to break the internet and cause controversy. We'll put Drake and J.Cole on the clock to see when or if either will respond. J.Cole will respond on April 5th, 2024 with 7-minute drill on his mixtape, Might Delete Later, and he would directly respond to Kendrick Lamar. Cole wouldn't get personal, but he would keep it strictly about the music. He would speak on how Kendrick has fell off and how his first album, which I'm assuming he's talking about Good Kid, Mad City, but that's his second album. His first album is Section 80. Cole will speak on how Kendrick Lamar caught him at a perfect time, and this will be a really solid diss, but Cole will renege on his diss during his Dreamville festival, where he will have an apology lined up, denouncing any problems with Kendrick Lamar or Drake. Most of the internet will agree with Cole during this, and Cole will face a lot of backlash for the apology. But did Cole know something was coming before we did? We have yet to find out if J. Cole's warned to apologize, or if he sincerely regretted dissing Kendrick and he actually dodged a bullet without knowing what was coming next. And what would be next will come on April 13th, 2024 as a song called Push-Ups. Drake wouldn't release this, but instead he would or someone else will leak this song. Push-Ups will be produced by Boy Wonder and Tay Keith, but the beginning of the song will feature a Who Kid producer tag, even though he doesn't have anything to do with the song. DJ Who Kid is a DJ for 50 Cent and G Unit, but it's speculated that it started with this particular producer tag because Kendrick Lamar and DJ Who Kid were supposed to perform together on May 31st, 2014 at the Rehab Pool Party at the Hard Rock Casino in Vegas. And this will be around the time of the alleged physical assault against a woman on Memorial Day weekend that Drake alleges took place. Kendrick will go on the Breakfast Club in 2015 and he will address these accusations. And he will say they're completely false and it's not fair to the women that are actually being assaulted. This producer tag could be a reference to Drake saying, "Who Kid?" since Drake accuses one of Kendrick's children to not be his, but instead to be with his managers, Dave Free. But this is all speculation. For all we know, he could have used the producer tag because he liked it. This verse will go on to take shots at Future, with saying he couldn't be another rapper's #1 fan. He will also go on to take shots at Kendrick by saying Top, which is Top Dawg CEO, telling him to drop and give him 50. What Drake is referencing during this song, that allegedly that Kendrick has to split 50% of his profits with the label. We wouldn't know the actual percentages or details of Kendrick's contract since he signed his deal with Top Dawg when he was only 16. Drake wouldn't just throw shots at Kendrick's contract on this song. He also take aim at Kendrick's wife by saying he be with some bodyguards like Whitney Alford being Kendrick Lamar's wife, or it could be Drake saying he be with some bodyguards just like Whitney Houston from her movie The Bodyguard. After this song dropped, Kendrick would remain quiet after this for a while, so quiet that Drake began to post and seemingly troll Kendrick online. Drake will also post pictures wearing Compton Community College sweatshirt, which is allegedly where Kendrick Lamar's wife attended. Drake will also post a cryptic Instagram caption during this time with titles such as, "They'd rather go to war with me than to admit they are their own worst enemies." He also posts a picture from the Quentin Tarantino movie, but one more caption Drake would post will come with another diss track. Drake would caption an Instagram post with, "While we wait on you, I guess," and what will come with that post will be the tailor-made freestyle, which will feature 3 verses, one from a pleading resurrected Tupac, another from a disappointed Snoop Dogg, and both of these verses will be AI generated by Drake. Drake will also have his own verse on this track, but the entire gist of this track will be Drake using AI generated characters seemingly to clown himself and give Kendrick ammo to use against himself, such as Drake liking little girls, or how the game is disappointed that he is taking a week to respond. Drake will also speak on Kendrick not wanting to respond because of Taylor Swift. Drake will suspect this because Taylor dropped the album April 19, 2024, and if Kendrick dropped during this time, it would possibly challenge Taylor Swift from being #1 on the charts. social media will begin to make memes and also will speculate on why Kendrick hasn't responded to all these diss tracks. DJ Academics would start a clock for Kendrick Lamar, waiting for him to respond, and social media was almost ready to give Drake the victory until April 30th, 2024. At 8:24 a.m. on a random Tuesday, Kendrick would break the internet and the charts with his response to Drake with the song Euphoria. Kendrick would call this song Euphoria for allegedly many reasons. He would place the definition of euphoria in the artwork of the song. Also, Drake is the producer on the show Euphoria. Kendrick will release a 6-minute song going at Drake. Kendrick would start this track off with a reverse audio that translates to, "Whatever they say about me is true." Kendrick would start this song off kind of like a spoken word poem, and he would remind Drake that he's a master manipulator and not to tell any lies about Kendrick, and he won't tell any truths about him. Something we just heard Kendrick say on The Heart Part 4. But Kendrick will have his first of 3 beat changes after these comments to Drake, and he will up the energy after this. This will be the first time Kendrick would say Drake's name on the song, besides the time he said it on the song Determined. And Kendrick, he will have a lot to say to Drake as he dissected him throughout these 6 minutes. Kendrick will go on to acknowledge that they are all GOATs, but he has the crown, and he's being selfish with it. Kendrick has been consistent with this since we heard the same sentiments being said in his Control verse, which kind of started all of this. Kendrick will rap back then that he's homeboys with the same people he's rhyming with, that him, Drake, and Cole can be friends, but if not, he's willing to be YNW Melly, who's allegedly on trial currently for killing his 2 friends. Kendrick will also go on to talk about how he knows things about Drake that will make Gunna look like a saint, and how Drake is using his features to appropriate black culture. Kendrick will go on the second verse to speak on things that he hates about Drake. Now also talk about Drake's parenting skills and to question if he really is in his son's life as he makes it seem. Kendrick will also use this verse to warn Drake to not mention his family, while also mocking the Canadian accent. We could stay here for hours picking apart the things Kendrick said in his first response, and now the battle has begun between 2 of the biggest artists in hip-hop. Drake now will be on the clock after the world waits to see his response to Euphoria. And before we could even get a response from Drake, Kendrick will drop again, going back to back against Drake in a similar fashion what Drake did to Meek Mill in his previous beef with him. Kendrick will release the song 616 in LA, which is a nod to Drake, who uses timestamps and locations as names of songs previously, such as 9 a.m. in Dallas and 4 p.m. in Calabasas. This time, with 616, things get even more deeper when Kendrick will use this track to reveal some things about Drake. The track will start off with Kendrick saying that he thinks that someone is lying and he smells smoke, but he doesn't see any fire. This song will also be released via Twitter, along with the picture of a Maybach glove as his cover art. But Kendrick will reveal on this track, Drake must be a terrible person because everybody around him wants to see him lose this battle to Kendrick. Kendrick will back this up by asking Drake, has he considered that his team is working for him? Kendrick will go on to say that there is 3 people close to Drake. One is next to him right now, and the other is tied to his lifestyle. Kendrick will also accuse Drake of putting money in the streets to get information about his life, but Kendrick will say nothing will come back because he lives a boring lifestyle. But Drake wouldn't stay on the clock too much longer. The same day at 6:16, Drake will respond with Family Matters. And with Family Matters, Drake would take this beef even further with a nearly 8-minute long song. Before releasing this track, Drake would tease the track on Instagram by posting memes and videos. First, after the release of 6:16, he would post a clip of Denzel Washington from his movie The Equalizer 2 on his store with a warning to his enemies that he is going to kill all of them. And the only disappointing thing about it is that he can only do it once.
I'm going to kill each and every one of you, and the only disappointment in it for me is that I only get to do it once.
Hey, Ari, fellas.
Hey, Carol.
Robert, hope to see you again.
Nice to meet you, too. Dave said you could give me a lift to the station.
Drake will also post a picture of an owl on his story and a picture of a red button, signifying that he has something big to drop. Drake will go on to release the track soon after the trolling online, and in the beginning of this track, he would start off with the outro of push-ups before switching the beat again, and this song will have 3 beat changes, just like Kendrick's did in Euphoria. This song, Drake is responding back to both Kendrick's Euphoria and 6:16. Drake would go on to claim that Kendrick doesn't give back to his community, and also that Kendrick is a fake activist. since Kendrick is known for having more progressive music, to alleging that one of Kendrick's children is not actually his child, but instead the child of Kendrick's manager, Dave Free. He will also allege that Kendrick abused his wife, and he will also film a music video for this track, and he will crush a minivan that resembles Kendrick's mom van from his album cover, Good Kid, Mad City. I guess she won't be getting that back now. Drake will also be filmed in this music video wearing Pharrell's jewelry. To know more about that, check out my Drake vs. Pusha T video. And he will be in the video eating at New Ho King, which is the restaurant Kendrick will reference on his Euphoria disc. On May 3rd, Kendrick responded back to Drake, and Drake took it deep by mentioning Kendrick's wife, and Kendrick took it even deeper by making a diss track that seems to be a letter to different people in Drake's family. Not even letting fans listen to Drake's family's matter fully before the drop came. Kendrick would start the track out by talking to Adonis, Drake's son, first. Kendrick will apologize to Adonis because of who his father is. Kendrick also offered to be a mentor to Adonis, and he will offer him some advice to not let a man piss on your leg. This is a reference to an incident that happened back in 2010 when T.I.'s friend, who was allegedly drunk, peed on Drake's leg during a movie premiere. T.I. will address this line 10 years later on his song, We Did It Big, and on that song, he would say, so drunk in LA you ended up pissing on Drake's shit, but fuck it, that's still my brother from the trap house. In the next verse, Kendrick will address Drake's mother, Sandra, and he would tell Sandra that Drake has some bad habits. Kendrick also mentioned this on Euphoria, where he would speak on how he believes that Drake doesn't like women. Kendrick also go on to speak to Drake's dad. He would go on to blame Drake's dad for his bad ways and habits, such as Drake having a gambling problem, Drake has a drinking problem, and Drake's pill habits. He would also again call Drake a master manipulator that is using him to show off his blackness, something that Pusha T alluded to in his story of Adidon diss. But the major thing to come from this song, on his third verse, Kendrick will seemingly be speaking to Drake's alleged daughter, who's 11 years old, and that he's been hiding for years. Drake will go on to deny that he doesn't have a daughter, and he would claim that he actually planted this information on Kendrick Lamar, but none of this will be proven. On the fourth verse of this song will be to Drake. He would go on and address how he wanted this to be a friendly rap battle, but Drake changed this when he decided to mention his family. He also is going to speak on the problems that Drake has at his age right now, and the things that he's showing and teaching his son at his age. He will also go on to speak on things Drake has lied about in the past and the present, such as his religious views, his alleged surgery. This alleged surgery is about Drake having a nose job, which Drake denied, or Drake having fake abs. Surgeons will go onto the internet and debunk some of these claims where they say Drake didn't have a nose surgery, but they wouldn't be able to debunk the fake abs so easily. Kendrick will follow the track up with arguably the most popular track of this entire beef, Not Like Us. Kendrick will recruit DJ Mustard, a well-known and popular West Coast producer. This song will start off with a 6th Sense reference, I see dead people, and Kendrick will get into the track and make some predatory claims that Drake allegedly likes young girls. Kendrick will allegedly get this angle from Joe Budden after he made these claims on his podcast. Social media will come together as detectives to find some information that may corroborate some of the claims made by Lamar. Social media will find a video from 2010 of Drake, 23 at the time, bringing a girl on stage that was 17 at the time. During this performance, Drake will invite the woman on stage, who we will let remain anonymous. Before he will resume his performance with the woman, he will ask the woman what's her age because he could get in trouble for this. After that, she will reveal her age and Drake will be shocked and ask, why does she look like that? That she is thick. And he proceeds to kiss her hand, cheek, and forehead while sending her on her way and continuing the performance without her. This is a common occurrence amongst artists during their shows. They bring fans onto the stage to perform with them. The young woman in the video will come out to speak on this since the resurface of this video amidst the beef. And she will speak on that this was purely a stage act. It wasn't anything then, and it isn't anything now. She wasn't even picked out by Drake, but instead by Drake's entourage. She was 17 years old during the video, and she is now 31, and she's also in law school studying. Another accusation Drake will face would be Millie Bobby Brown, better known as Eleven in Stranger Things. She would speak on her and Drake's friendship back in 2018. She would speak on how Drake is a fantastic person and a great friend to her, and how they were texting each other the other day, telling each other how much they miss one another. And the interviewer will go on to ask Bobby Brown, what does her and Drake talk about? And she would say boys, and he will be offering her advice. After this interview, Drake will face backlash for being friends and texting a 14-year-old at the time. 11 would go onto her Instagram to defend Drake, and she would post to her story that, "Why do you guys gotta make a lovely friendship your headline? You guys are weird. For real. I'm lucky to have people in the business to extend their time to help further me in my career and offer wisdom and guidance. I'm very blessed to have an amazing person in my life." She will go on to say that you don't get to choose that for me. It's nice to have people that understand what she does, and that people should get back to talking about real problems in the world other than her friendship. Another accusation Drake will face will be with the producer and former high school girls basketball player, Lil Cece. She will ironically go on to No Jumper podcast and speak on how Drake started following her and her teammate on social media while they were in high school, since Drake was allegedly a fan of high school basketball at the time. The internet will use this as another example how Drake is allegedly a pedo, but Lil Cece will go on to Instagram to defend what she said. She would say she didn't think people would twist her words, but she never had any contact with Drake until after she graduated high school, and it was about music, in which we would see Drake use one of her beats on his song, Money in the Grave. Kendrick wouldn't just accuse Drake of having weirdo behavior. Kendrick would also go after Drake's associate, Baka, who Drake has mentioned in some of his songs. Baka, better known as Baka Not Nice or Mr. No Long Talk, Baka would be arrested and charged with human trafficking and assault back in 2014. Back in 2015, Baka was allegedly passed out drunk on the couch while cooking when the food began to start burning. Baka, on and off girlfriend at the time, was there during the incident and began yelling at him because of the burning food, and Baka would respond with pushing the woman to the floor, and the following week after this incident, she would call the police and tell them about this incident. Baka would plead guilty to this charge in exchange for having some firearm charges dropped, and the judge would sentence him to 6 months in prison. But before that, Baka was arrested a year prior to this when the same girlfriend would accuse Baka of forcing her into prostitution and stealing her money. This case would eventually be dropped because the woman refused to testify in court. This track was like vengeance for the West Coast after Drake used AI voices in his tailor-made freestyle. We can see the evidence when Kendrick would say, "Do you think the West is going to let you disrespect Pac?" By the time this song was released, Drake was already off tour and he didn't have any up-and-coming planned shows in Oakland, California. The closest show to Oakland, California was performed back in August of 18th and 19th of 2023 when Drake performed in San Francisco, which is 20 minutes from Oakland. Could this track been made back in 2023 before Drake performed in San Francisco? Or is it Kendrick telling Drake that was his last time performing in California? Drake would also perform a few days later on that same tour in Los Angeles. Kendrick would respond to Drake calling him a fake activist and claiming that he's always trying to rap like he's trying to free the slaves, since Kendrick's music is known to be more conscious. But Drake would claim that this is all a facade and a gimmick for Kendrick. Kendrick would give us a history lesson about how during the 1800s, when the Atlanta Railroad was being built, many northern white men known as scallywags and carpetbaggers came down from the South in order to take advantage of the reconstruction of the South after the Civil War in 1865. The South was desperate for investment after it was destroyed during the war, and the Northerners would take advantage of this desperation and would come down and invest their money into the infrastructure while employing the locals to do the work while making themselves rich. Kendrick would accuse Drake of doing the same, a Northerner coming down to the South and using Atlanta artists to boost his popularity. Atlanta was known as the Mecca during this time since it was the best place for an established Northerner since so much was being built during that time, such as railroads. Kendrick will also speak on Drake being conniving, since he allegedly had relations with Lil Wayne's girlfriend while he was in prison back in 2010. The alleged woman in question will be Tammy Torres, a model/actress. Wayne will speak on this betrayal in songs, but he will also write about this betrayal in his prison book that will release on October 11, 2016. In his book, Wayne will speak on how he found out about the alleged incident, and he would say he woke up that day still feeling fucked up about what he just learned. He was used to arguing with his girl every day, all the time, but finding out she had sex with Drake or any man while he was still in prison was the worst thing he could found out. Tammy would confess to Wayne that this was true, but she would say this incident took place way before her and Wayne got together. Drake would come see Wayne while he's incarcerated, and he would admit the same thing to Wayne. He would tell him not to fuck with her because he had been with her already. Wayne would admit that this fucked him up deeply. He would say that he told the correctional officers to lock him in his cell without any contact, without anyone, which is where he was while he was writing this down, and where he has been for the last few days before that. After this book came out, Kendrick claimed that Drake got a tattoo of Wayne's face to apologize to him, which Drake does have a tattoo of Wayne on his left tricep, which he got back in 2017, but this is all speculation. Drake has portraits of many people tattooed all across his body. Drake responded to all of these allegations though on his track The Heart Part 6, which we discussed earlier. The Heart is a series that Kendrick releases before his albums are released, seemingly mocking Kendrick's series of songs, just like how Kendrick mocked Drake's series of songs with 616 in LA. Drake will use this track as a way to respond to his accusation of liking children. Drake will respond by saying if he was messing with young girls, he would have been arrested or outed by now, similar to other celebrities such as R. Kelly and Harvey Weinstein, who've all had accusations over the years before their arrest. Drake would go on to speak on one of Kendrick's songs from his Mr. Morale and Big Steppers album. He would speak on the song Mother I Sober, where Kendrick spoke on apparently being touched by his cousin. Kendrick has always denied that this happened, even though his family doesn't believe him. Drake would say this is why Kendrick is stuck on this lie, that Drake is a kid dealer, and that Drake likes kids, because Kendrick was allegedly touched as a kid. Drake will also go back to speaking on Kendrick's wife, and he would double down on Kendrick allegedly abusing his wife, and Drake would pose the question, why isn't Kendrick's wife denying any of these allegations? And also, why doesn't Kendrick's wife follow him on Instagram? But she also follows Kendrick's manager, Dave Free, who has liked some of her pictures on Instagram. It's suspected that Whitney Alford's alleged brother, Taylor Alford, is supporting Drake on Twitter, but it was never proven that this is actually her brother. Drake will also speak on that alleged daughter that he is hiding, and will tell Kendrick in the world that he planted that information about his hidden child to discredit Kendrick, and responded back to Kendrick saying that his life isn't about rap and he doesn't have to call around about an artist. Drake will also claim that the album cover that Kendrick used on the Meet the Ground song was all planted, even the medicine in the picture, the Ozempic drug that Drake also accused Rick Ross of using. Drake will end his track with a spoken message to Kendrick. He would explain that this was good exercise and he would be a good competitor if he really was a predator. He would say he would enjoy Kendrick's last song, but he can't get past the false accusations that he made. Drake would also claim that everything he spoke on was facts, but Kendrick is using the media to push a narrative that isn't true. He also claimed to be happy that he could bring Kendrick back to rapping after his hiatus from the game. But I personally believe this whole beef is a tie. But do you believe Kendrick or Drake had the upper hand in this beef? Or did you learn anything new? Please comment below your thoughts and leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all on the next one.